What would you want to accomplish? Oh, I'd love to take my kid to all the art museums in Europe. I'd love to go bike through French wine country. I'd love to travel through Monaco, whatever it may be. Like, I can help you have that experience, not just with my knowledge of having you save and invest, but like we can game plan this a year out and I can get you there for a tenth of what it would actually cost you out of pocket. And you're going to have a much more luxurious stay. And that attracts people, right? Because no one else is doing that. Who's taking the time to help their clients plan? Again, very clear, I'm not a travel agent, right? But I can strategize for someone how to get from point A to point B in style and it not cost a fortune to do so.
Hello and welcome to another Top Advisor Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Halloran. You know, we're doing and actively trying to bring on more of our existing clients who are doing something fundamentally unique and different to show you the versatility and the flexibility of not only what we do here for our clients at ProudMouth, but the power of long-form content marketing. And our guest today is DeAndre Coke. Now, he is a producing advisor. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But he's really created a really specific niche within content creation that not only could it be something that you use as a financial advisor, but he is also using it to really accelerate his personal influence, which in turn does help his business. So DeAndre, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Matt. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. I'm super excited.
Now, let's tell everybody very quickly just a little bit about who you are in the world of financial services, and then we're going to abruptly switch gears and talk about your show.
Okay, sounds great. So, yes, DeAndre Coke, I'm a financial advisor. I started at a big name financial planning firm about 13, 14 years ago. It was a firm that I say financial planning now, it was more so known as an insurance company, but it is very focused on financial planning and such. And so still hold my hat there, although I get headhunted all the time to move. And we do have a focus on planning as a whole. It was a tough start in the business, but built success over time. Really focused early on in my career. And for the record, I turned 35 this year. I started at 20. I just turned 22. So I've started at a very young age and really got after it. And as anyone in this business knows, it's not easy starting from scratch. Worked hard on actively building up a client base, worked hard on getting my designations and qualifications. Built a practice focused around military and special forces. So a lot of my clients are Navy SEALs and are doing really cool things all over the world. I work with a lot of young professionals with our practice as well. And we've really grown over that time. And, since then we grew. So it was just kind of the DeAndre Coke show and got to the point where I realized it was bigger than me. So a few years ago, we started the brand Truicity Wealth Management. So that's what we operate under. And that's Truicity is really trust and authenticity put together. And just last year, I brought on a partner who she was a 9-year veteran advisor. So she just came on board with Truicity last year. And so we've been really expanding. So, now we're serving clients in close to 50 states. We were actually doing a lot of virtual meetings before it was a cool thing to do because we, with the work with the military clients and such, and serve over 1,100 households. So we've done a lot of good things and had some great recognition. I hit the $1 Million Round Table my first 5 years in the career. It was fantastic. Was named the Millennial on the Move, top 40 under 40, and then last year was recognized by Forbes as a best in state financial security professional, and actually just got noticed today that we got that award again for the state of Virginia. Yay. So back-to-back years. So. Nice. That's their quick rundown. Hopefully that wasn't too fast, but that is the quick overview of the background. And yes, I eat, breathe, and drink financial planning and financial services.
Now, so with all of that said, you do something very different with your podcast. Let's talk about that journey. Let's talk about why you decided to do this in the vein that you did. And I'm purposely being vague because I want you to explain it because you're going to explain it way better than I am.
Yeah, so someone that you've had on the show before, Jerome Myers, had actually introduced me to you and
Mhm.
to ProudMouth and to the podcast when I was coaching with him. And I kept hearing you talk about, the benefits of marketing and podcasting. I felt like we were doing some pretty cool things, but we weren't doing podcasting. And I never really had a huge desire into it. But of course, I've been listening to you for weeks, and it kept the drip worked over time, right? I said, you know what, I'm going to start a podcast. And there's two things I'm highly passionate about. One is financial planning, but the other is actually travel. I love traveling. I love going all over the world. I've been to some really incredible places, and travel is a big part of me and my personal brand. And when I talk to friends and they're like, "Hey, we're doing something this weekend," the next question out of their mouth is, "Are you going to be in the country?" Right? And so like that's the brand. Even clients are saying, "Hey, where are you going next?" Right? We're having a client review. Like even clients know I love to travel. So my plan was that I wanted to come up with a podcast and blend the two and call it the Wandering Advisor, right? So mix the financial planning with the travel. Well, the short version to this story is for our firm, they basically said, "Hey, we don't have the technology yet to really compliantly approve podcasting, but from a financial planning standpoint, but they basically said, talk about travel, and eventually when we do, you can incorporate the financial stuff." And so I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and I'm just going to have a podcast about travel, which I love to do, but we do travel differently because we do a concept called travel hacking, which is really a strategy of using points and miles and credit card rewards and those type of things, and being able to bring in the financial planning expertise on how to structure the analytics of credit card points and rewards and how we've turned that into some fantastic trips has been phenomenal for content and for growth of our show and our podcast. And I'll give you a teaser and the listeners a teaser, right? Like we went to the Maldives last year, and basically we got about $45,000 worth of luxury travel and paid $4,000 out of pocket. Right. So just hearing that, people are like, I want to know more. Right. And then that's
Yep.
how that really expanded.
So so first off, what you're doing is amazing. And I was actually just talking to some friends of mine who do a lot of traveling, and I was like, so there's this guy, he really, so I hope I got you at least one subscriber from that, because they were like, holy crap, how do you do that? Because everybody knows that we do pre-record calls, and we were talking about some of your travel. Now, so advisors are listening to this and they're like, okay, so this guy's legit, good producer, runs a great firm. His podcast is an OBA or a DBA, which is fine and totally legal because that's what they told you to do. Has this actually helped your financial planning practice? And if so, how?
Yeah, it actually really has. And to be really clear as well and compliant, I do have an approved OBA for the
Yep.
entire brand of the podcast and
Right.
everything else, right? So, I did get that approved. So it has helped immensely because, again, like I mentioned, travel is really my brand. And so it's well known through the podcast that I'm a financial advisor. I don't talk about Roth IRAs and annuities and all the things in my show at all, but I do have opportunities to reference the financial planning world. For instance, there are pros and cons to everything out there. And there's also a lot of preconceived notions, right? So, an example in the financial planning world, right? There's a lot of preconceived negative notions around annuities, as an example. Well, there's also preconceived negative notions around credit card use or having credit cards and opening credit cards and what that will do to your credit, right? So just like a skilled advisor can really overcome the objections of
Mhm.
and show someone the benefit of the annuity. I'm doing the same thing on the points and mile side with travel and such. And so listeners are hearing this. And when I get to drop a nugget like, yeah, as a financial advisor, I also often tell my clients, you know what, you need to keep yourself debt free. You need to do X, Y, and Z. I find creative ways to mention as a financial
Yeah.
advisor. And in our show notes, we have links to my LinkedIn, our website, all the
Mhm.
things. And so people have an opportunity to reach out to me. And we've had listeners reach out and want to schedule a meeting with us through our firm. And then also I get a chance. I have a weekly show now, and I really want to also shout out you guys because you guys produce the show. So I fully went in working with ProudMouth. I want to give the shout
Yeah.
out to you guys because you guys have done an incredible job. And we went from twice a month to the demand was so high we jumped to weekly, and through that, we've got people that we interview weekly. And what I also say, and this is a little bit of a part of the playing the game and growing the practice. I say, hey, look, as a thank you to you, I let them know this after the show, actually. So they've already agreed to record and be on the show. They've been on the show. At the end, when we're off air, I said, hey, by the way, as a thank you, appreciate your time so much. If you ever have a need for financial planning, feel free to reach out. I'd love to help you, have my team take care of you. Would love the opportunity. And we've had people take advantage of that. And on our show, I've had everything from families, surgeons, all sorts of people that are in this points and miles and travel world that also have their own day jobs as consultants and other things. And that's given us great opportunity.
Yeah. When we were preparing for the show, one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we were on the same page was, how our listeners could benefit from your show and really what you teach. So let's talk about that a little bit because, dude, working in the retirement planning, environment, what a lot of people want to do when they retire is travel. And there's DeAndre in your show. So let's talk about that too, please.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk to the listeners that are advisors and also the listeners that are just listening and aren't advisors as well, right? So for the advisors out there that listen to your show like I do, I think the show is beneficial because as advisors, we have a high spend in both personal and the business side, right? Between conferences and travel and wining and dining clients and just as the business grows, your expenses grow and staffing and all the things you need, computers and then also typically speaking, your lifestyle probably is going up also as an advisor, right? So you got the expenses for your household, for the kids, all the things. So we have a high spend. And what I find, and this is when I talk to my advisor friends as well, right? They're racking up the Amex points, they're racking up the Chase points, they're racking up all these points, and then a lot of them, like they just click the button that says apply to my statement credit, right? Or they'll just say, oh, through Amex portal, I can buy this flight and I'll use my Amex points through the Amex portal. Well, I don't have all the time, obviously, on the show to go through the nitty gritty and how to do this right. But a quick example I'll give you is let's just say you wanted to take a trip like luxury, top notch, and I'm talking business class. A lot of times we're using our points. We're flying long haul, business class, flat seats, champagne in the sky, all the different things, right? This ticket could be $10,000 cash. And so if you were to find this same ticket, whatever airlines you want, Qatar, Emirates, you name it, through Amex's travel portal, the way their points work is 10,000 points or $10,000, would translate to 1 million points. So literally 1 million Amex points to get this one ticket one way. I can do that same ticket for 100,000 Amex points, right? And so literally just by what we talk about, the skill set that I've developed myself, I can do that. But where this applies to our clients is I can apply the same strategies for them. And so I can talk to them about the opportunity for them to, hey, like, I want you to live. I want you to experience life. Again, my brand is not I'm splurging money and just blowing it on food travel, but hey, I do planning. I manage my money, I invest, I save, I do the things, and we travel. We travel very well, but it doesn't cost us what it looks like it may cost us. And there's ways we can do that for you too. So I have clients that we're planning their retirement strategy and they say, oh man, our bucket, like I keep a list of clients and where their experience list. What would you want to accomplish? Oh, I'd love to take my kid to all the art museums in Europe. I'd love to go bike through French wine country. I'd love to travel through Monaco, whatever it may be. Like I can help you have that experience, not just with my knowledge of having you save and invest, but like we can game plan this a year out and I can get you there for a tenth of what it would actually cost you out of pocket. And you're going to have a much more luxurious stay. And that attracts people. right? Because
Yeah.
no one else is doing that. Who's taking the time to help their clients plan? 'Cause again, very clear, I'm not a travel agent, right? But
Right.
I can strategize for someone how to get from point A to point B in style and it not cost a fortune to do so.
Yeah. So absolutely niched out, which is fantastic. You're living the brand, which is wonderful. But you said something earlier that I want to come back to because it's the antithesis of what a lot of financial advisors think, which is you're meeting with clients and they're asking you where you're traveling next. Not that you're being negligent because you're not in the office. That is not what happens. People love the success of their expert network, their financial advisors. They want you to be living a great life because they know if you're living a great life, then you're probably going to be able to provide them with much better advice, especially along the lines of what you're talking about. Many moons ago, I was coaching an advisor who lived in South Texas, and 6 months out of the year, he lived on his boat. And all of the peers that we were working at this consulting company were like, "Man, my clients would hate it if I did that." And he's like, "My clients ask to see what the water looks like," because he was holding all of his meetings virtually. And this was a long time ago, virtually on his boat. So I want you to reinforce that a little bit, DeAndre. I want to talk about the relationship that you have with your clients and how they have also embraced this travel lifestyle that you have while you're still providing excellent service to 1,100 client households, by the way.
Yeah, so I think it's really important to talk through. I have a phenomenal team. We've built a phenomenal team, and I couldn't do this without them because, for the most part, most clients, they know that I travel a lot, but most clients don't know when I'm actually gone unless they follow me on social media, right?
Mhm.
So if they reach out, if they shoot us a text, an email, whatever it may be, someone's responding to them, even if I am literally on the other side of the world.
Sure.
I'm going to get a response to them. I might say, hey, look, sorry, I'm out of the country, but make sure the team will get on it, whatever it may be. So that's kind of part A, is the fact that we make sure that we're very responsive and attentive to their needs consistently, whether I'm here or not. And I typically do spend on average, it's about 4 months out of the year, not consecutively, but throughout the year that I'm actually gone and traveling. And when I travel, I don't see clients. I don't work remotely. I do truly disconnect as much as I can. I do check emails. I do delegate stuff like that. The other component of it as well is although through my travel Instagram and social media, I promote the travel. I try not to be flashy about it, right? I'm not the advisor that's flashing the gold watch and the Rolex and all those different things. Like, it's very clear that my brand is about enjoying life, spend life living, thriving, those type of things. So my brand is not about, oh, I'm all about luxuries. It's about, hey, I'm getting out there and seeing the world. And it's an opportunity for other people to kind of, like you said, be attracted to that. Because I think a lot of people, what actually inspired me to create this brand, which the Boldly Go brand, which I created about 5 or 6 years ago, was because through my travels, I just loved photography. I bought a drone
Mm.
years ago, and I would get just
Oh,
amazing pictures of Thailand and different places around the world, and just post videos and stuff to Instagram. I had no idea what an influencer was, right? I was just doing it because it was fun. And as people
yeah.
started saying, man, I'm living vicariously through you, right? Like, I kept hearing that over and over. And that's when I realized people were attracted to that. So really, I'm just unapologetic about it. Behind me on the wall, I have pictures, whether I'm in my home office or in my actual office. I've got pictures of travel, of going all over the world, and people ask. And then I've got clients that they'll ask me, like, where should we go? Like, we're thinking of having a anniversary trip. Where do you recommend? Like, where have you been yourself? Right. So I think also we do such a good job keeping the relationship going as well. We have, since day one, I've had a very refined process of
Mm.
consistently making sure that clients hear from us. So we typically reach out to our clients around their birthdays and their half birthdays on a very consistent basis.
Mm.
So they're getting contact and meetings scheduled and follows up and reviews all throughout the year. So it's not the case of I've been gone so much they haven't heard from me. So I think it's making sure that we do enough on the front end that allows me to be able to kind of have this, I'll say other lifestyle, but blend in this
Mhm.
lifestyle on the back end.
Now, somebody probably heard that you just said that you do a weekly show. And I want to talk to you about that as we wrap up today, because that's a lot. And you know it's a lot. And our audience has probably heard me talk about weekly shows before. How are you able to execute that? And more importantly, how are you not running out of ideas?
Yeah, that's a really great question. A weekly show is a lot, and I'll kind of share how I got to that point, because we started again working with
Mhm.
you guys as being, hey, just let's do 2 shows a month, right? And that's how we started. But I had so many ideas, and I was taking trips, and I want to do a recap of a trip, and now
Mhm.
a lot of my travels with my fiance Taryn as well, and so we want to do a recap, and I would have an idea, and with what we already had recorded, it would be 4 months from now before it get on the air. So that's when
Yep.
it was like, hey, I think the demand and the growth of the podcast and the listeners were growing to where I said, you know what, I think we can do this weekly. Now, you're right, it absolutely is a lot, but part of the reason why we're not running out of content is the world of travel is immense, right? There's always a place to go. We're
Yeah.
constantly traveling. The world of points and miles is huge, because that's a very dynamic, almost like the financial services world. There's rules that are constantly changing. There's new
Mm.
things that are coming out. There's bonuses if you transfer from, Amex to Virgin Airways that, maybe someone wants to take advantage of. So we talk through things like that. There's hotel stays and all sorts of things that make that a constantly evolving world. But then also, as I mentioned before, I have a lot of guests that come on the show, and I
Mhm.
just share their story. And the really cool thing is I don't only talk my own travels. I don't only just talk about credit card points and miles and rewards. I also just hear from people that have really cool travel stories. So, like I recently recorded an episode with a couple that when their daughters, who are 5 years old now, their twin daughters, when they were 4 years old, they hiked to Everest Base Camp with their 4-year-old twin daughters. And how many times have you heard, oh, we have kids now, we can't travel? Right. So the stories we're able to share are so
Yeah.
amazing. And that's what keeps fueling me, because I just never know what I'm going to hear from the next guest that comes on. And that's where the fact
Yeah.
that we have this constant flow. So between the opportunity to have more and more people and the content out there, it's huge. And the last thing I'll note is I've built this like I built my practice. And what I mean by that is, when I was early on, I had to be really, really good at prospecting. Now at this stage, I'm still work hard at prospecting, but we have a lot of referrals come to us just because I've spent years grooming clients by asking them for referrals all the time. So now at
Yeah.
the end of a show, after I've done an interview, or actually while on air, I just say, hey, who should we have on the air? Right. And so they'll give me a couple of their friends in the travel world, and then I'll ask them to do an introduction for me through Instagram and set up a group chat. And that's how we have the next person ready to go for the next show. So it keeps it. So I've been building it almost like I worked, very similar to how I built the practice.
Yeah. Which is absolutely brilliant. And it's one of those things where, when you have a good team behind you in their financial services practice, and then from, I'm hoping from a ProudMouth perspective, it does make it a lot easier for you to execute all of this stuff. Okay. So here's the thing. One, if you're a financial services professional, you really need to listen to the show, which are going to give you links and all of that in the show notes, and DeAndre will talk about it in a minute. But number two, how awesome would it be to be able to have you reference the show to your clients who are trying to travel a lot more within their retirement, to make it so they have the opportunity to truly live that retirement that most of you have worked really hard to help them achieve. And if you can do it and helping them save money and have these unbelievable life affirming situations, environments, trips, all of those things, everything changes. And guess what? And DeAndre, you're living proof of this, is they point back to you and say, DeAndre, help me do this. And I know so many of you who are in financial services are wanting your clients to come back with these amazing stories about being in Mallorca and being so excited that it only costs you 10,000 or 100,000 points instead of 1,000,000 points, and you traveled super first class and all of that stuff and really had the trip of your dreams. If you as a financial advisor can help with that, that's even better. Also, executing on the level of content that DeAndre does, right? really takes a lot of forethought and planning and discipline, which he has all of those sorts of things. If there was one thing, DeAndre, that you could share with our audience about the volume of content that you create, besides the hack that you just gave, which is to ask your existing, people who are on the show who you should interview next, is there any other tip that you would give everybody to help them have more confidence so that they'll hit that record button and start their long form content?
Yeah, I would really say just go for it. I would say
Yeah.
find the thing that you love. And if you love financial planning, which again, I do love financial planning, but also I do talk investments and asset allocation and diversification and life insurance and all the things on a day-to-day basis. It is really, really cool getting to talk about something that I'm also passionate about that's just fun. And so the conversation around it comes naturally, just like it really does in the financial planning world as well. So I would say just go for it. And even if you're not ready necessarily for the long form content, start the short form, the Instagram videos, the reels, whatever it may be. We actually put out daily content on our Instagram, which is not easy, but the podcast actually helps us because we splice out about 4 videos per episode. So we only have to come up with 3 other reels for the week, which we have a whole system. Sometimes the reel is a travel meme. It's not always has to be super in depth, or it's a drone shot of, hiking through. I mean, Mallorca, I've got drone shots in Mallorca. Mallorca is beautiful, right? So I would just say, just get started, and don't get the head trash out of your way, right? Oh, clients are going to think this, they're going to think that. I know, Matt, you talk about this all the time, and I think it's very, very true. You have to be unapologetically yourself. And one of my mentors many, many years ago when I started would always say, people buy differences, not similarities. Right. And so the things that make us different are what attract people to us. And it's okay. Not everyone's going to be the right person for us, but the people that are for us are typically the people that we love spending our time with. And that's what I'm all about. Is I love when a client says, "Where are you going next? Oh man, we can't wait to travel like you do." And I'm able to say, "Hey, look, I'm going to help you get there." Right. So whether it's actually literally on the trip side or the saving for retirement side, either way, that's so long answer to your question, but short version, just do it.
Yeah. All right. People want to reach out. Where should they go?
Yeah, so of course the common options are, the LinkedIn. I do have LinkedIn. I do get a lot of connection requests and messages, and I honestly, that's the one that gets a little bit overwhelming, because I'm not sure a lot of spam messages as well. I am out there on LinkedIn. Our practice for wealth management is truicitywealth.com. So if you do have an interest in kind of seeing what we're doing in the financial planning space, feel free to reach out there. But I will say the travel obviously is what we talked about, and that's what has been really growing vigorously. So the podcast name is Revolutionizing Your Journey. And so the key to that is it's all about doing travel differently, revolutionizing how we travel, whether that's through points, whether that's whatever it may be. And so my website and the kind of brand that we've created on travel is Boldly Go. And so the website is boldlygo.world. And so you can go there and find the link to our podcast as well. And we're on all platforms. Thanks to you guys. We're on all the things. And then even on YouTube as well. Every single episode gets posted to YouTube, and that's at Boldly Go World. And if you want to reach out, shoot me a DM on my Instagram. Same thing, boldlygo.world. Shoot me an Instagram DM. I'm happy to respond, happy to answer questions. If you're sitting on a bank of Amex points or Chase points and you're like, what do I do with these? I promise you I can figure out some ways that you can use them really effectively. And yeah, if you're trying to know where to get started, we have a newsletter as well. So we have all the things, but I'm sure you guys will link to it in the show notes. But I'm happy to converse with anyone on the planning side or on the travel points and miles, how to take advantage. And the last tidbit I'll say is I have interviewed a person who took him and his 5 kids round trip to Europe. And his wife, so 7 people round trip to Europe in business class, and did it all on points. And I think hearing stories like that as advisors, with the way we spend and like we could all be doing this so much more efficiently.
Yeah. And with the messaging of you had said previously that you have also helped advisors reconstruct some of the way that they are paying for things to maximize their points too. So please don't hesitate. For those of you who were born a long time ago, DM means to direct message. I'm sorry, I'm just being kidding. Everybody should know that now. I just love doing that. So anyway, listen, DeAndre, I really, really appreciate you. Thank you, one, for being a great client of ProudMouth. We always appreciate your business, but more importantly, I just love showing you as such a shining example of how you can have auxiliary, kind of one step to the right or left content creation that will feed your financial services firm, but more importantly, feed your soul and allow you to truly be your own loud and rise above the noise. So for DeAndre and all of us here at ProudMouth, this is Matt Halloran. We'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon.
Take care, everybody.